Hello there, and welcome to our breakout session covering the gentle approach that Sonlight offers for preschool. My name is Judy, and I am the marketing sales coordinator for Sonlight, but I'm also a passionate retired Sonlight homeschool mom. I homeschooled all three of my kids with Sonlight, and they're now all grown, and I have grandchildren who are coming to be school age. So I'm particularly excited about talking about preschool again, although it's been a lot of years since I was there. Joining me today is Emme. Emme and I, if you've ever been to any homeschool conventions, which obviously didn't happen this year, but perhaps last year, you may have seen one of us and maybe chatted with one of us on the convention floor. So Emme, why don't you introduce yourself, please?
Sure. I'm Emme Kim. I'm a mom of three. I have an 18-year-old, a 15-year-old, and an 11-year-old, and they're all girls. This is the first year that I have a high school graduate, so we're really excited about that. She's excited to go to Baylor University. We're excited for her. In addition, I've been homeschooling for, I'd say, 11 years, and prior to then, I was a Montessori preschool teacher and early elementary Montessori teacher for about 7 years. So that's my background. I also, as Judy said, work at conventions as a consultant for, I think it's been 3 years now.
Thank you, Emme. Well, I'm excited that we get to talk about preschool here. So let's start with defining what we mean by preschool. A lot of people want to know, well, when should I start school, academics with my child? So what would you say would be the best ages for this preschool program?
I'd say Sonlight's program is geared towards ages 3 to 4. And so, but like most of Sonlight's programs, it's literature based, and so it's very flexible, and it can apply to kind of a wider range than that. The ages of, I'd say most generally for most preschools, it's probably 2 to 5. This program, being a homeschooling curriculum with Sonlight, gives you more flexibility in the sense that you can use it with multiple children if you wanted to, and you can ramp it up if you wanted to with the additional activities that are in the IG, or you can kind of tone it down a little bit if you wanted to teach it to a younger child.
Excellent. And we'll look at that IG, that instructor's guide, in just a few minutes. So one of the questions I could imagine myself asking if I was considering Sonlight's preschool program is, how do I even know if my 3-year-old is ready for preschool? So what would you tell people?
I would say that if your child is just basically ready to engage in even just listening to you read out loud, even while they're taking a bath or eating their breakfast or getting ready for bed, if they have the ability to sit for, let's say, maybe 10 to 15 minutes at a time, even if they're doing busy work with their hands, that you can definitely do this program, because the majority of it is read alouds. And so you're just spending time with them, you know, even snuggling on the couch or whatnot. And even the hands-on materials are very simple to use, and you know, you can help your child to get better at using scissors, or you can, you know, pick that up sometime later in the school year, or not use them at all until they're a little bit older. I mean, you can really adjust the program to your children.
Very good. And you're right, the flexibility is there. And even if your child isn't to the point of being able to sit still for 5 or 10 minutes, you know, that's a learned skill. I know some adults who can't sit still for 5 to 10 minutes.
That's true.
Yes. So, you know, if you say, oh, well, my 3-year-old, she can't sit still for more than 2 minutes. Well, here's an opportunity to help her begin to learn that skill. So I think that's a very good description. Thank you very much. So let's talk a little bit, maybe show a little bit about Sonlight's preschool program. And like you mentioned, it's a lot of amazing children's literature. And so it's all kind of organized in this Parent's Companion. Now, at the older levels, this piece would be called an instructor's guide. But because our approach to preschool is so laid back and so gentle, this really is not a schedule in the way you would think of an instructor's guide. It's not going to have a check off the box and get all of these things done in one day. It's really going to be a suggested list of the order to read the books in, a lot of details for activities that might go along with the books. I just realized that this is my convention copy, so it says
Yeah.
display. But there's just a lot of really useful information in here that can help you, especially if this is the first time that you've ever taught a child or taught preschool. What else might you point out in here, Emmy, that you could encourage people with?
I just like the fact that they give you, it's like a checklist instead of, like you said, Judy, it's not a daily schedule where it's assigned readings. It's a very flexible approach. So you have a checklist. For example, let's say you have a treasury of classics, like Judy's showing, and you can just go down the list and check off the things that you have accomplished or that you have read. And of course, you always have the freedom to go back and reread anything that you want. That's what we do is in our family, we probably reread books many times just because they're so great. And like you said, I do like all of the little mom tips that are included and sprinkled throughout the IG, how to keep your house uncluttered and how to manage children and, you know, things like that. So I really like that aspect of the IG as well.
I think the other thing that's kind of neat about this is we take some of the topics that are covered in the stories and then let you flesh those out. So it could be that the story is about a farmer, and so we make suggestions for activities for planting seeds. And so if you're thinking to yourself, well, I can't educate a preschooler. I am the least creative person in the world. I wouldn't begin to know what activities they should do. All of that is lined up for you in here, laid out for you. And like you said, Emmy, you can do as much or as little as you want or as you feel your child is ready for. And that's why it's called a companion.
Right.
It's not a guide. It kind of goes along with you on the journey of
Yes.
teaching your preschooler.
Right.
So let's talk about some of that wonderful literature. So maybe you could share one or two of your favorite titles, Emmy.
Yeah, one of my favorites, again, like the thing about this curriculum that's very interesting is that you have a variety of books. And so some of them are super simple to read to your children because they have very few words on a page like this one. And then others are going to be more advanced and have maybe a lot of writing to read through with fewer pictures. But that's how you can adjust the books to fit the needs of your children. This one in particular I love is Noah's Ark. It has very few words. I think one of the first pages has most of the words, and then the rest of it is a lot of illustrations to show the story of Noah's Ark. And it gives you a lot of opportunities to have conversations. As a parent, just pointing out the pictures and describing, naming the animals together out loud and really discussing what's going on in Noah's heart and in his relationship with God while you're going through this book. I think this is amazing. So that's definitely one of my favorites. I love the pictures in here too. Another one of my favorites is this Family Time Bible, Children's Bible in Pictures. It has really nice, beautiful illustrations and very short devotionals that just make it easy to do in like 5 or 10 minutes. It's super, super quick. It gets to the point as well. I feel like it covers really important points for children, that are age appropriate for this age, and just a really good resource for instilling God's truths into these little hearts. And I also love this HarperCollins Treasury.
Oh, one of my favorites.
It's just loaded with so many classics. Just If You Give a Mouse a Cookie and Pizza and Caps for Sale and Goodnight Moon. It's just filled with lots of great pictures and stories. And it's just it's just a gem of a book.
Mhm.
So those are some
One
of my
of my
favorites.
favorite, yeah, one of my favorites is this book by Patricia Polacco called The Bee Tree. So this has special memories tied to it for us because we actually got to meet this author when my children were little, and listen to her read one of her stories, and we ended up with an autographed book from her. But one of the things that Sonlight will do in general is introduce you to authors that you may not have met before. And I think our preschool program is especially full both of classics and of some perhaps newer authors that you might not be quite familiar with. But her illustrations are just delightful. And the stories, a lot of them are based on her experiences growing up. And so it gives you, again, as you mentioned, Emmy, a lot more opportunities to have conversation. You can talk about experiences with grandparents or older neighbors, and just a lot of opportunities for conversation.
Right.
The other thing that this includes is some hands-on components. You mentioned scissors and markers and construction paper, and we also have some games. So this Teddy Mix and Match, this is a game that my grandkids love.
Right.
And so this is just like the old-fashioned concentration game. You lay out all of these bears upside down so you can't see what they're wearing, mix them all up, and then you turn them over two at a time and try to remember where the matching pairs are. So lots of fun books to read and activities to do that are going to just help develop those preschool academic skills that kids need before they start a more formal program.
Yeah, and I also wanted to add there's a pack of construction paper that comes with it, so that if they wanted to do cutting exercises or if they wanted to use that for arts and crafts ideas, that's included in the curriculum. And there's also a Mighty Mind game. I can grab that real. Should I grab that real quick?
Sure. Yeah, it's fun to look at.
Yeah. So this is Mighty Mind. I really love this because I just feel like it teaches geometric shapes. It's very academic and stimulating. I feel like it can be used and reused, and there's 30 boards, so it can last a long time. And I just think it teaches them spatial awareness and, just so many neat things that they can gain from this. So this is another favorite thing that I like about this program.
Awesome. Well, we could spend forever talking about the amazing books, but I wanted to cover a couple more points with you. So perhaps we can offer some additional encouragement to folks who are thinking about doing preschool at home. I'm imagining that if I were a new mom looking at teaching preschool, one of the things that might concern me is how much structure and how much unstructured time should a preschooler have? How long do we sit and read? How long do we sit at the table and do some of these activities? Or how much time do we spend just out running and playing and being a 3-year-old? What would be your thoughts on that?
Well, since I've worked with a lot of preschoolers for 7 years, I do know that preschoolers in general, no matter where they are in their development, are going to adjust to routine pretty well. So I think as long as you have a consistent routine, it doesn't mean consistently every day at the exact same time, but at least they know that generally speaking, these are the things that we do every day with mom and dad, and these are the activities that I generally do, on a regular basis. I think that as long as you build that routine, your kids will, basically fall into that routine. And by routine, I don't mean a lot of time even. It could just be, like we said earlier, 10 to 15 minutes at a time, maybe even 5 minutes reading a Bible story and praying together, and then moving on to free play, meals, and balancing out some of the structured with the unstructured activities, and really letting preschool be a time that is fun and positive and confidence building for your child, but it's still educationally stimulating at the same time.
Mhm. And I think another thing that you can add in, which really could be kind of a combination of structured and unstructured, is letting your preschooler start helping with some of those daily activities that you do around the house.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely. Yes.
yeah.
I think I agree with that wholeheartedly.
Mhm.
I feel that at even as young as age 2, they can start um, helping to set the table, or they can help wash dishes if you have make the sink accessible to them with a low stool. Um,
Mhm.
you can help you can teach them how to sweep up messes on the floor, how to polish things. There's so many things that you can incorporate into your preschooler's daily life that don't even require a lot in terms of in terms of spending money on it. It's
Mhm.
just stuff that's laying around in your house and it's easy to pick up and use.
Yeah. So not only is that teaching them some valuable physical skills and some mental
Right.
skills, but it's also teaching them a very valuable skill as they get older, that they're part of a team.
Yes.
And our family works together as a team. And so all of us have to pitch in order to make things run smoothly in our house. So I think those are some excellent points. So another question that crossed my mind while you were showing a couple of your favorite books, especially that treasury of all those different classic stories, and that is, but that book seems too hard for my 3-year-old. So shouldn't I just be looking at picture books?
That's a great question. I'm sure that goes through every mom's mind when they're starting to read a book to a little one, and you see them kind of losing interest, possibly. But the thing is that I think what makes it really easy to use is the fact that you can do this, like I said, during bath time, like when they're busy with their hands or they're splashing around in the water and they're just listening to your voice, the cadence of your voice, the vocabulary words that you're using, the experiences being told through certain characters. Um, I think all of that is beneficial to the child on so many levels. And so, I think it's important to know that your child doesn't have to necessarily sit, for sit still and, completely engaged while you're reading every single story, and just
Mm,
kind of make it a natural part of your daily life.
yeah, yeah, very good. I think that will relieve a lot of concerns.
Yeah.
One of the things that I remember being most important when I had preschoolers was getting them outdoors.
Yes.
I think that outdoor time, not only is there so much to learn when you go outside and so much to discover, but there's also just the health value of that fresh air and the activity. And I know we read a lot of articles about people who are concerned about the amount of screen time that young children have.
Right.
And I think we can really not overemphasize enough the value of getting children outside.
Yes, absolutely. And I feel like being outdoors, taking advantage of, the time that you have with your little one where they don't need a lot. They don't need, necessarily a lot of equipment to have fun. You can just actually take nature walks. You can show them how to water the plants. Um, do a simple chasing game, with your pets or with your siblings, and um, with your child siblings, and just enjoy, like you said, the outdoors, and let that become kind of like their outdoor classroom, if you
Mhm.
will, and let them experience God's creation and let that be part of their day as well.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Another thing that was always very important to us, because both my husband and I have musical backgrounds, was integrating music into our homeschool, especially when our kids were little. And actually, one of the components of the our preschool program is this We Sing CD of nursery rhymes and lullabies. And so why do you think it's important to integrate music? I mean, we had a good reason because music was part of our lives, but not everyone has that bent or that interest in music. Why would you think that they ought to integrate music into their day?
I mean, I personally just think music is so important. Even when I was a preschool teacher, we had music all the time. We had musical instruments. It teaches
Mhm.
them rhythm. It teaches them control. You know, there's some fine motor control in some cases, like if you have a zither or shaking a maraca, for example. Um, and I think just listening to music throughout the day when you're driving, before bedtime, I think we even played lullabies and worship music when my kids were sleeping at
Mhm.
some. And so I just think that incorporating music is powerful. It's a different method of communication for children. I think that they relate to it really well. Um, I think you can use it as a medium for teaching ABCs, and that's why we put a lot of educational things to song, or we put Bible verses to song, because it's so easy for kids to memorize or to learn things when it's added to music. And so,
Yes.
I mean, there's just so, and I'm not even, I'm probably not even touching on how important music is, but I mean, it is just really, really important for this age,
Mhm.
especially.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, we could probably talk for much, much longer about our favorite aspects of the preschool program, but time says that we need to wrap it up a little bit. So, in closing, what would be your best advice or encouragement to moms and dads who are considering preschooling their kids with Sonlight's materials?
I mean, honestly, I would just say that you can do it. This is definitely a gentle approach to the preschool to your preschool experience. Um, it's not um, something that you can't easily incorporate into your daily life. There's a lot of flexibility. You can use as much or as little as you wish. Um, Even the hands-on materials you can build on as you go or tone down if it's not working for your child at the present moment. You'd be surprised at how much kids will grow in just a couple weeks. Even something that was difficult 3 weeks prior might be doable later. And so
Yes.
um, just understand that this program is very, very good for that age range, 3 to 4. But you can, like we said earlier, you can adjust that to fit multiple children outside of that range also if you wanted to. So this is an excellent program for preschool.
And it's a memory builder. I think more
Yes,
than anything, one of the things that we took away from our homeschool experience was all the memories that we built with our family, with our kids.
exactly,
So
exactly. All that time snuggling on the couch and reading and just talking and sharing your hearts with your kids, I think
mhm,
is invaluable. So
yeah.
yes, very, very special curriculum.
Well, thank you so much, Emmy, for sharing your wisdom and your experience. And I hope we have intrigued people to look into Sonlight's preschool program. If you would like to get one of our catalogs, you can go online to our website at sonlight.com/catalog and just fill in your mailing address, and we will be happy to send you one. Thank you, Emmy, and we
Thank you.
hope that this has been very much an encouragement to all of you who have listened in.